Good morning, and thank you for joining me for another session of our Village Vitality series. My name is Aline, and today we will be focusing on release. And so we're talking release of the physical body, working into some tension in the upper body, neck, shoulder area, um, and also release emotionally. So, a lot of the exercises we'll be doing kind of help promote a sense of well being and calm, and then release in even to the level of with our breathing technique, releasing trapped air in the lungs. So, that is the theme today. We'll be letting it all go as much as we can. So, for today's class, you'll notice that I do have my mat set up. If you do have a mat, go ahead and make sure you have it set up in this orientation. We will be doing some standing postures behind the chair that you might find really helpful to have your mat. And of course, the main reason to have it is if you do have slick flooring and that chair ever slides around. I mean, honestly, even on carpet, it may happen. And so you can always use a mat even on carpet. Just test it out before you do a whole class because for some carpets, depending on how plush it is, a mat may just be really awkward. um, I am barefoot today. Like I've mentioned before, I highly recommend it for our standing work and for just grounding, really feeling like you're rooting down through the feet, even in our seated postures, and just working the feet more through their range of motion. And it's just very beneficial, unless, of course, you have a medical condition where your doctor has told you that you pretty much need to wear shoes 24/7, um, or any orthopedic reasons as well. So, beyond that, just make sure you're comfy. Our breathing technique today is called Vishama Vriti, which is unequal ratio breathing. This one is just fantastic for lung health. Um, and as I mentioned earlier, that release of trapped air. So, what typically happens, especially as our lungs age, and extra, especially if you have any sort of disease processes like obstructive pulmonary disease or anything like that, is when we inhale at the alveolar level, our lungs will send that oxygen into the bloodstream. And then the bloodstream will send its waste, CO2, and will exhale out that CO2. Now, typically our exhales, especially if we're not guiding our breathing, don't extract all of the CO2 from the lungs. So some CO2 gets left behind at the base of the lungs. And then less room for fresh oxygen to come in. So if we manipulate our breathing in a way that we're extending the exhale, we see that we get more CO2 out of the lungs, which means we have more room for oxygen to come in. And so it's just a wonderful breathing technique that just cleanses the blood in essence at the basic level. So we'll be working with that today. Now for that technique, we'll be doing equal ratio breathing first, an even count inhale and exhale. The way that you control the difficulty level, or rather I should say the accessibility of this breathing technique, is the speed that you count. So I recommend 4 counts. We'll do a 4 count inhale, 4 count exhale. Then as we go through the breathing technique, that exhale will become longer and longer and longer until we're hopefully trying to double the length of the exhale. So a 4 count inhale and an 8 count exhale. If that sounds really strenuous to you, then your counting is probably going to be faster. So instead of, let's say, counting at 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe your count is a little more like 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's kind of organic. You might change the speed of your counting as you go through the breathing technique. You might not do a full 8 count exhale. It's all okay. Any amount of extra time we can spend on the exhale is beneficial. So even if you do a 4 count inhale and a 5 count exhale. All right, I think I've talked enough. So let's come to our centering position. Remember, if you have issues with the extremities falling asleep or any discomfort in the backs of the legs when you sit here in the beginning of class, play around with your positioning. So perhaps further back in the chair, as long as you're maintaining a nice open posture, trying to root down through the feet if you can, although depending on your height, length of your legs, the further you scoot back, it might be a little harder to maintain that feet pressing into the ground. Also keep in mind, shifting can help. So if you just kind of shift side to side a couple times, preemptively if you can, so before you start to feel anything fall asleep, that's best. All right. So pick your centering positioning. Either way, wherever you end up on the chair, try to evenly space the legs apart, about hip width distance, and then having the ankles underneath the knees. And now pressing down actively into the feet. So you're activating the tops of the thighs here, the quads. Press down into the hips. So I'm pushing down actively into my sits bones. And that motion helps lift me up with a little less effort from all of these muscles. Although they're still working, so don't worry that you're cheating yourself. And just maybe taking a couple of shoulder rolls or taking a little bit of swaying movements to just feel that you're lining up the spine. So I want to feel as if my ribs are stacked over my hips. They're not jutting forward. They're not kind of tucking under. So I want to feel that balance. Then I want to feel the shoulders are over the ribs, which are over the hips. And lastly, I want to feel as if my ears, and as I'm kind of moving my head forward and back, my ears are over the shoulders. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you're just going towards that alignment. And even just the observation that you're bringing to it now can do wonders for your posture. All right, so once you feel settled, and you're working hard just to sit still here, let your eyes close. And just start to notice the breathing, which may be deepened when you closed your eyes. Start to notice the physical body. Trying to take all of these little mental notes, which the more and more times you do, the better you'll remember. The better of an observer you'll be for the internal workings of your body, and your posture, and your breathing. It's what we do in our everyday activities that makes the most difference in our joint health, especially the spine. So your posture while you're sitting and watching TV, your posture while you're eating, while you're brushing your teeth, while you're showering. All of those minutes add up. And if we're not aware and we're just kind of dumping on to the torso in that forward rounded posture, then we're basically training our body to do that all the time. So as much as you can here, lift and open and stack the spine. And when you're ready, begin with your Samavriti or equal ratio breathing. Inhaling for 4 counts through the nostrils and exhaling for 4 counts through the nostrils. Remember, the counting is at your own pace to challenge your lungs, but not to the point where you're having to really use a lot of muscular tension or you feel that you're holding your breath at any point. Take a few more breaths at this equal ratio, and then we'll begin our work to lengthen the exhale. So on your next breath cycle, 4 count inhale and 5 count exhale. Is your face relaxed? The eyebrows, the jaw? Try to release those spaces even as you concentrate here. And if it feels accessible, begin to lengthen the exhale even a little bit more. 4 counts to inhale, and now 6 counts to exhale. And as you breathe at this ratio, just be on the lookout for signs that you should stay here or return to normal breathing. Things like dizziness, lightheadedness, but also maybe excessive yawning can also be an indicator. And if you're not getting any of those feedback cues from the body, and see if you'd like to extend the exhale even a little more. Now 4 counts to inhale and 7 counts to exhale. Those abdominals perhaps engage to help lengthen out that exhale. Our abdominals are considered secondary breathing muscles. And on that exhale, when they engage, they help press, kind of changing the shape of the body to help aid the diaphragm in sending that air out of the lungs. Look again for those tension cues in the shoulders, eyebrows, jaw, tongue. Even the feet may be scrunching up. So those are all just indicators that we're focusing and concentrating. They're habitual holding patterns that we want to try to change. And if you feel good at this 4 to 7 ratio, see if you can continue with your 4 count inhale and now an 8 count exhale. But if you have to drop back to 4 and 7 or 4 and 6, or maybe you never left 4 and 5, that is totally fine. Do your best. Know that whatever you're doing is beneficial for the body and is creating stimulus, growth, and change. Little by little. Keep with that 4 count inhale and whatever count exhale for about 5 more breath cycles. once you've finished that fifth or so cycle and you're ready to return to normal breathing, do so with your next inhale. Just allowing the breathing to return to normal, although you may notice that it's a new normal now. And we'll begin with our release of the physical body now, doing a little bit of coordinated neck and shoulder circling. So we're only going to work with one shoulder at a time. You can keep the eyes closed and follow along with my verbal cues, or if the verbal cues aren't enough, you can open your eyes and check it out. So what we'll be attempting to do is, as you release that left ear to the left shoulder, you'll press the right shoulder down. And as you drop the chin to the chest, you'll start to circle that right shoulder forward. As you send that right ear towards the right shoulder, you're pressing that right shoulder up towards the ear. And then as you lift the head up to center, that shoulder is moving back. Shoulder moves down as you press the left ear to left shoulder. Shoulder moves forward with chin to chest. Shoulder moves up with right ear moving down towards it. And then as the head lifts to center, shoulder moves back. Again, shoulder down with left ear to left shoulder. Shoulder moving forward, chin to chest. Shoulder moving up with right ear to the right shoulder. And shoulder moving back with the chin coming to center. Go ahead and circle like that 2 or 3 more times. You may want to change the pattern a little bit depending on what feels best for your body. Or if it doesn't feel good to the shoulder, maybe just focusing on one or the other, either neck circles or shoulder circles. I did want to bring this in for a little bit of coordination work. And also it just, to me, feels marvelously wonderful to work those together. All right, coming back to center, notice the lopsidedness that your body may be feeling. And I didn't take my own advice. My little toes are falling asleep a little bit. So we want to try to always shift or change before that happens if possible. But at the very least, we want to listen to those body cues. All right, so switching sides, dropping that right ear to the right shoulder as we press the left shoulder down. Chin to chest as the left shoulder moves forward. Left ear to left shoulder as the shoulder moves up. So maybe you're even touching your ear to your shoulder. As the head lifts to center, shoulder moves back. And then again, we begin again. So shoulder down as you press that right ear to right shoulder. Shoulder forward as the chin drops. Shoulder up, sending the ear to meet it. Shoulder back as the head comes to center. Shoulder down as you move that head away. Go ahead and cycle through this as best as you can. It does not have to meet this exact pattern. However, it is I designed it this way on purpose to really work through the full range of motion of some of these muscles around the neck and shoulder joints for maximum release. Go ahead and do one more cycle. All right. Let's get a little bit more now into the chest and then hands and arms. So again, adjust if you need to, even shifting in your seat, maybe shifting back or forward, but rooting back down through the feet when you're ready. We're going to take that left hand. You can turn to the left side a little bit to grab hold of the chair, palm facing out. Now you control the difficulty of stretch here. As you start to turn back to center, you should feel a stretch across the front of the shoulder, into the chest, probably all the way down into the arm. The more you would like to feel it, you're going to start to even lean forward a little bit and even twist to the right a little bit. Oh, yeah. So I notice just pushing my right shoulder back, I feel that stretch intensify. You can turn your head into it as well to draw the stretch up into the neck a little bit more. Or I should say, turn your head away from it. So just see where you would like to go with this stretch this morning. Remember, never want to push your body too hard. But it's a delicate balance because we want to push it enough to create change and flexibility. When you're ready, slowly start to release by untwisting, kind of moving back towards that left side and releasing that arm. You can shake it out. Might feel a little bit weird. Might have lost a little bit of sensation there. That's normal. Now let's do the other side. So right hand, I'm going to turn towards the right side just so I can hook my hand or fingers under the or on the side of the chair. And remember, palm is facing away from me, so thumb up towards the ceiling. And then I'm going to slowly start to send those shoulders or my chest forward. Maybe even lean forward a little bit, but without losing my good posture. And possibly turning or twisting now to the left. And it's amazing. If someone tuned in right now and just saw this, they'd kind of be like, what is she doing? Is that stretch anything? But you feel it, the intensity of the stretch. And just how this little whoop, just a 1-inch twist can really make it that much more sensational. So play around with where your head is going, with the depth of that twist and that kind of lean forward. Just a couple more breaths here. As we find release in this stretch, just trying to again let go of tension that we tend to create in the rest of the body. It's like our body just doesn't want to let go of that tension. It just wants to shift it around. We're trying to get it out. Takes focus. All right, slowly start to unwind. Release that hand. And coming now with just the arms bent or elbows bent, hands parallel to the ground. Let's just make those fists. Tighten up the fingers and then spread out as far as you can. Go gentle with these first couple rounds because, again, it doesn't look like much. But as you're doing it, you do notice the intensity of this kind of stretch and movement for the hands, especially if you have arthritis or any other joint issues. You probably feel this even more. And remember, you want to work within your pain-free range of motion. So if this is causing a lot of pain, sharp shooting or pinching, then you want to decrease the range of motion if you have to, if that helps. All right, spreading those fingers out. Let's just turn the palms down and turn them up. I'm also maybe kind of moving the wrists a little bit as I do this. So you can just go down and up, or you can add a little flourish, maybe moving through the fingers. So kind of play with it. See what feels okay to your body. But at a minimum, you're flipping down and up. Okay, let's get a few wrist circles in now. So you can even do this if the arms are getting a little tired, down by the sides. So very light fist here, not doing a whole lot of muscular effort to make that fist, just want the fingers curled in. Notice there is some rotation happening at my elbow and at the shoulder a little too, and that's okay. Go ahead and reverse directions. But just trying to get those wrists to move through as much. I'm trying to avoid saying range of motion. And I can't think of anything else. So trying to move it through as big of a circle as you can. And any last finger movements that you may want to do before relaxing. And we're going to do a version now of cat and cow. Again, working on coordination a little bit, but just going through cat and cow, but making circles. So let me demonstrate for you. Taking the palms together, interlacing the fingers or crossing the fingers over, and then sending those hands out. You have a couple options here. You can move through cat and cow in this way, scooping and opening. If you would like to try what I'm talking about, adding a little circular motion, check it out. As long as you don't get dizzy easily, this should be okay for you. So moving here, as you start to circle over to the right, kind of stretching that whole left side, you start to lengthen the spine so that once you get to the top of this movement, you're back bending. So belly is forward. And then you start to move into that side bend, start to scoop out so that by the time you come to hands forward, you're in your cat pose. And of course, your arms might not be this straight. They might be more bent. But imagine you're trying to basically draw a circle in front of you with your hands. And then you're just kind of moving the spine, manipulating into side bending, back bending, and forward bending. So really good for the spine, really good for the shoulders. But of course, if anything hurts, change it up. Let's reverse directions. Oh, just when you thought you had it down, now I throw that curveball at you. And so really the main focus here is, does it feel good? Are you moving the spine through all different bending postures? And if you check those boxes, then it doesn't really matter if it looks like what I'm doing or not. No, those shoulders are probably getting a little tired. Let's take one more circle, if you can. And finding your way back up to center, take a deep inhale. And exhale, release those arms. Swing the arms out, roll the shoulders out, whatever you need to do to decompress a little bit. And let's get down to the lower body. So we spent a good time just holding that lower body still. Sorry for that. I try not to hold you there quite as long, but I really wanted to work through some of those movements with you today. So I'm going to scoot a little bit further forward in my chair and bring those hands back behind me. So a slight little lean back, straightening out that right foot. We're going to work through hip range of motion a little bit differently today. Instead of doing circles, we're going to try to open or send those toes way out to the side and then toes up. So toes out and up. Try not to lock that right knee out. Let's keep a little bit of bend in that right knee. And you probably can feel the head of your femur, which is your thigh bone here, moving in the socket. So it's rotating out And then back to neutral. Out and back to neutral. Try to relax the shoulders. Don't sink in here. Don't let them creep up to the ears. And just moving nice and slow. Foot stays pretty neutral. I'm flexing it just a little bit. Take 2 more rotations and neutral. Rotate. And the next time you come to neutral, let's move into a nice hamstring stretch. So shifting the weight forward again, making sure you're nice and rooted there in the left foot. Toes are flexed, so bringing them in towards me as I hinge forward. Oh, for that first hamstring stretch of the day, perhaps. Again, make sure that you're not locking out that right knee. And remember your options here to try to find release. You can relax the forearms to the thigh. Depending on the flexibility that you have, maybe hand to the ankle here or hands to the floor. I know some of you are probably thinking, who is watching this video and can do that? But you might be surprised. And I think it's good to see what you can work towards. It is never too late to increase your flexibility, to increase your strength. In your 80s, in your 90s, you can do it. It just takes a little bit longer for your body to respond. You have to be more patient. But it's all still worth it. All right, so slowly start to lift up out of that stretch. Slide that right foot in. Notice any differences between the two sides, even in the hip joint itself. I feel like this joint that I worked is just bigger, looser. It's interesting sensation. Let's balance it out. So leaning back again, supported into your hands here, straightening out that left foot, rotating out, and back to neutral. See if you can tune in so you're so hyper-focused that you can feel that joint movement. Because a lot of people focus on the wrong place here. They focus on the foot. Oh, the foot's turning out. The foot's turning in. But that movement is actually occurring at the hip joint. You might feel your glutes kind of engage. So your deep glute muscles underneath the superficial gluteus maximus are contributing to this movement here. So you may even feel that since you're sitting on those muscles right now. And that's why we're leaning back, is to just help take a little bit of pressure off those muscles so they can do their job better while we sit. This can definitely be done standing as well. But, all right, rotate out one more time. And coming back to center, slowly coming up out of your backwards lean. Lifting and lengthening to start to fold forward now. Remember, don't put weight in that left leg. We want to keep it slightly bent. So you might even come behind your knee and just kind of give it a little push up to make sure you're not locking out. So notice, locking that joint. Oh, not good versus straight versus bent. So straight may look a little bit bent, but never want to lock out like this. So you're probably like, well, Aline, why are you doing it? For the sake of demonstration, and I'm doing it very carefully so I don't hurt myself. I'm really good at showing how to do things wrong over the years that I've been teaching. So remember, come to whatever depth feels accessible to you and feels slightly challenging. We don't want to be just comfortable all the time. And very slowly start to lift up out of this stretch. And you're going to slide that foot in. And let's get ready to take our first vinyasa sequence. So, rooting down through the hips, through the feet, in your seated Tadasana or mountain pose. We'll inhale the arms up and we'll exhale to forward fold. Arms can remain up, they can open out, or they can come down for that forward fold. So let's start over again. Inhale those arms up. And exhale to fold forward. Uttanasana, or your seated forward fold. Relaxing here once you make it. That forward rounded position. The weight of your head and your shoulders is tractioning or lengthening the space between the vertebrae. Every one of those vertebrae. Well, maybe not every single one, but the majority of them are just getting a little more space. Those intervertebral discs can uptake a little bit more fluid, can get a little more spongy. And those are actually cartilage. They're made out of a type of cartilage in the body. All right. Go ahead and start to lift the head. We're going to work with locust to strengthen the back muscles. We've done this one before. So hands come to the thighs at first. Now, for those of you where maybe you've done this one in the past several classes and you feel a lot of strain on your back, like a lot of soreness, keep your hands down at first. So we're just going to lift on our inhales, and on our exhales, release back down, but I'm staying engaged really the whole time. So level 1 would be hands on the thighs. So I am pressing into the hands just a little bit. I'm keeping the shoulders away from the ears. That's just helping support those back muscles that are working really hard to lift me up. Now, if you felt okay doing this the past few times, maybe you haven't, maybe this is your first class, welcome. Try it out. See if you can send those arms back. As if someone's pulling those arms, you're lifting up, but not all the way straight up. And then you're exhaling forward. Inhaling up and exhaling forward. Very important to try not to let the back round here. So your range of motion may only be this much. Like you're just taking a deep inhale and lifting an inch up. That's fine. We just want to make sure we're not letting the back round once we move into that forward position. Woo! Anyone else getting tired? One more inhale. Come up. This time all the way up. And exhale to release. My hip popped on that one. I don't know if you heard it. Again, popping of joints is pretty normal as we work through our movements here. Go ahead and straighten that right leg out now. Send those arms up. Cross right hand over left elbow. We're going to exhale to hinge back. Back stays straight just until you feel those abdominals say, hello, I'm awake. Exhale to twist to the right, any amount. Inhale, center. And come up. Let's lean back. Twist to the right. Center. And up. I know I told you we were going to release today, but we got to do a little bit of work too. Sometimes when we strengthen the right muscles in the right way, that contributes to the release. So it's all designed for you. If those shoulders are getting tired, you can bring hands to the chest or arms out in front. So really work with whatever arm variation is gonna, your body's gonna handle best, but still be challenged. Let's take one more. Back, twist, center, and relax. Keeping that right leg where it is. If you can, with no hands, see if you can start to pivot and shift into gate pose. So really my foot is staying, or my heel is staying planted. I'm just shifting and now rooting that foot down. Of course, if I need to, I'm using that chair to help me adjust. And notice my foot is only half on the mat. That's fine. But if that feels weird to you, you can always stand up, shift that chair back, and start over again. Gate pose, wonderful for the hips. Now, two options here. You can make it more restful, more focused on the stretch by keeping hand on the hip, and then as we move in the opposite direction, hand on the chair. If you would like to make this more of a strengthening, especially for the core, then and your balance is okay, then you can do no arm support. So you're hinging and then hinging, but you're not going to get as much of a stretch. So really, it's up to you. What do you want to get out of this movement? Do you want to get strengthening or more so stretching? So decide how you want to go. I want to stretch today. You're going to inhale that left arm up. Exhale, move into your stretch. Inhale to center. And exhale, release that arm. Now that left hand's down, or maybe not. Maybe both arms are lifted if you went strengthening route. Inhaling that right arm up. Exhaling into your side reach. Maybe even that shoulder comes to the chair, which is totally fine. Inhaling up and exhaling to release that arm. Let's do that 2 times more. Now, if you're doing no hands, you might be able to get more. So you're just exhaling, inhaling, exhaling, inhaling. So you may be able to get more reps in. But remember, inhale the arm up, exhale, move into your side reach. Inhale, center, and exhale, release. One more time to each side, or maybe 2 if you're doing with no support. Last inhale to lift the arm. Exhale to stretch. And inhale back up to center. Exhale, release that arm. Attempting to, again, keep the foot where it is. You're going to rotate even more to the left and pivot on to the back toes. So I'm repositioning this left foot a little bit, and I like to shift my hips over to the right more to just kind of free it up to come into my high lunge stance. I'm trying to straighten that back leg as much as I can so that quad is activating, really getting a nice stretch in the front of the hip. And again, depending on if you want a little more strengthening or just focus more on the stretch, you may want to lift that right arm up, which if you guessed is working on strengthening, you'd be correct. And if you feel supported enough here, maybe even lifting that left arm up. It's great to practice these lunge postures while actually being seated because we don't have to worry so much about balance, and we can get the arm strengthening and shoulder strengthening benefits without worrying about falling as much. For some of you, this may be too much of a test of the balance and you want to bring that hand down. That is okay. Wherever your arms are, try to take one more deep breath. On your exhale, release the arms if you have them lifted, and let's just take a little twist here. So this one is not a strengthening twist. We're actually stretching those oblique muscles that we worked in earlier in class. So we just want to twist now to that left side. Any amount. And so my hands are coming to the chair to kind of help me move into that twist, and you should feel that stretch along the right side. Try to draw the navel in so you're not just kind of dumping the belly forward. We want to try to keep that spine stacked. Shoulders down and shoulders over hips. Oh, yeah. Feel all those sensations. Breathe into them. Know you're actually releasing, even though it feels like your body might be tightening. And on an exhale, let it go. Unwind from that twist. Relax that quad. Start to shift back in your chair, back to center. Now, as you're slowly releasing and coming back to Tadasana, I'm just going to move the whole thing over here because we're getting ready to do the other side. So coming back to your seated mountain pose, rooting through the feet, pushing actively down, pushing into the sits bones to lift up. So yoga teaches us about conserving energy. So even though I'm activating and using all of these muscles to stay upright, how can I use them a little less? And that's with that downward push. So get ready for your next forward fold and a little bit more locust back bend work. Inhale the arms up. And exhale to fold forward, Uttanasana. Nice stretch to the back. Backs the hips. Maybe turning that head yes and no. Rolling the shoulders. Might want to try grabbing opposite elbows here in front of the shins. That sense of added weight just drawing you deeper into your stretch. And noticing I'm rocking a little side to side. If that feels good to you, invite that type of movement in. You don't have to stay static. We just want to avoid bouncing movements in our stretches because that can actually strain the joint. On an exhale, slowly release the arms if they were doing anything. Start to come up. Engage first the back of the neck. So just lifting that head a little bit. Then thinking about not really tucking the chin, but as if you were trying to hold a big ol' Honeycrisp apple right there between the chin and the chest. So neck is neutral. Start to bring those hands to the thighs first. This time we're going to hold locust pose, but not our breaths. And so what that might look like is maybe hands stay on the thighs. Maybe one hand goes back. Maybe you're alternating which hand goes back. Maybe you're doing the full hold. So I'm not at that top of the position like when we were doing the pulses or the lifts and lowers, and I'm not way down here in the bottom, really just in between, where you're feeling the muscles in the back engage, you're engaging the core, definitely feeling the arms engage. In fact, you're squeezing those hands towards each other, spreading the fingers wide, pressing into those feet, and breathing here. Pressing those shoulders away from the ears, engaging muscles now in the upper back as well. Oh yeah, guys. Try to keep breathing here if you can. Take one more deep inhale. And exhale. And on your next inhale, lift all the way up. And exhale, relax. Oh, nice job. Shake it out. Let's straighten out that left leg in front of us, making sure not to lock the knee. Hands come out. This time, right hand on top, or left. Left on top of right. You're going to hinge back, keeping the spine long. Exhale to twist to that left side. Powerful engagement of those left oblique muscles. Come back to neutral and back up. Now this one with the hands in this position may be a little tough on the shoulders. Again, I want you to strengthen the shoulders, but if you have rotator cuff issues, or if you feel that the pain is not just discomfort from muscular effort, but it's beyond that, Then either straighten the arms out, maybe bring the hands together in front of the chest. Maybe those hands are by the sides. So this is your practice. Only you can tell what's going on in your body in terms of the sensation. And so you need to listen and adjust as necessary. And up. Let's do 3 more, which may be a little more than the other side, but hopefully pretty even. We just want to try to stay even one side to the other as much as possible. But it's always okay to get 1 or 2 extra. And come up and relax. Maybe shaking or rolling, arms, shoulders, whatever you need to. Now let's move into gate pose. So if we can, we're trying to do this without using the hands on the chair, or maybe just going as far as you can and then adjusting how you need to. So creating about a 90-degree angle here between the 2 legs, trying to root that left foot down on the ground as much as I can. And with gate pose today, we're going side to side. So if you did arms up on the other side, you guessed it. You got to do it on this side too to try to stay balanced. If you did a little more of the restorative or stretching way, then stick to that on this side as well. So let's move first to the left. So hand can come to the hip. Inhale that right arm up. Exhale, move into your reach. Inhale to center. Exhale, arm releases. That right hand now comes to the chair. Inhaling the left arm up. And exhaling, stretching the opposite direction. Trying to create one long line with the arm and the leg here. Inhaling up and exhaling to release. So we always inhale when the arm comes up. Exhale into our bend. Inhale to center. Exhale to release. Inhale up. Exhale, bend. Inhale up. Exhale, release. If you're following my pattern, 1 more to each side. If you're doing the strengthening method, maybe 2 more to each side. You didn't realize when you picked that at first that you'd have to do more. Probably should have prepared you for that, but I think you got it. Inhale to come up and exhale to release. Now, let's shift even a little bit more into that high lunge. So again, maybe no hands, maybe hands. Pivoting onto the back toes, more or less that foot stays right where it is. And I'm really just kind of shifting the hips in the chair to allow me to get this deep, juicy stretch. Trying not to let just the ribs open forward and the belly release forward, although that might feel good. I do want to try to draw the navel in, stack the ribs over the hips. You'll actually feel that deepen the stretch here in the front of that leg. What we're stretching is our deep, deep hip flexors called the psoas, the iliacus, or the iliopsoas, if we're referring to both of those muscles. They're way deep in there. So behind my abdominal organs, all the way back. And those muscles, super, super tight in our sitting culture. We sit for the majority of our day. And so those muscles get shortened and tight, so we're stretching them out. That's why you're feeling all the sensation you're feeling. And you want to leave this pose, but try to stay with it as much as you can. Let's add that twist. Increasing that stretch even more perhaps. And then stretching into those muscles that we worked on this side. So try to keep the shoulders down. Oh, stick with it, y'all. Try to take one more deep breath here. Let's inhale. And on the exhale, let it go. Start to unwind all the way over. Wonderful. Who's ready to come to standing? All right. So come up how you need to, perhaps through chair pose for added challenge. So if you're going for that chair pose, you're walking the feet under you just a little bit. So really my big toes are kind of under my knees, I think, more or less. Start to shift that weight forward. Lift the hips off the chair. Breathe here if you can, pausing in chair pose, Utkatasana. Oh yeah. Straighten those legs nice and slow. Come up, deep inhale to lift and lengthen. And exhale, join the palms in front of the heart. Tapping those thumbs into your heartbeat. And relax fully when you're ready. Shake those legs out. All right, everyone. Got a little standing sequence today. Moving through 3 different postures to really help with, again, balance, coordination. Now, if you do have a mat here, it might be nice to move your chair forward so that your feet, both feet can be on the mat, because we're going to be doing a warrior 1 posture. So right now my foot's off, so I am going to adjust my chair. Just be really careful when you do this. Take your time. And once you do feel set with your chair, you are going to start really pretty close to the chair. A lot of times I cue you to be about 6 inches or more away. Really this time, I would say 3 to 4 inches, maybe 3 to 6 at the most. Find those feet hip width apart. Both hands to the chair. Let's bend that right knee and take a fairly large step back. So I'm going to step it straight back. And my weight's going to want to shift into that back foot. I might be, fingertips to the chair here. Notice my back foot, and I'm just going to lift this pant leg so you can see that foot position better, or the ankle position. Is at about a 45-degree angle, trying to get that heel down. The whole sole of the foot is grounded. So it's not my high lunge stance where I'm on the back toes. But if that feels more accessible to you, then you can go here. This is actually Warrior 1, or Virabhadrasana 1. I'm going to bend into that left knee to really engage that quad. And this is my posture, Warrior 1. If you can, right arm comes up, or forward, or just lifting barely off the chair. Just whatever you can do to test your balance, test your strength. Now, let's move through that sequence, and then we'll hold each pose a little longer. Yay, I'm sure you're so happy about it. All right, so we're straightening that front leg without locking the knee. So this is pyramid. Very important not to lock that joint out. So slight bend. You're going to hinge, push the hips back as you hinge forward. So you should feel that stretching the back of the left leg. Try to push that right hip forward as you pull the left hip back. And that'll help keep the hips squared. Ha. All right. From here, bend that front knee. Shift the weight forward. So I'm lifting now onto my back heel. Weight into the chair. Trying to lift that leg. Warrior 3. Y'all, let's go back through that sequence again. So bending that left knee. Trying to slowly, although it might not happen slowly, bring that back foot back down. Coming to Warrior 1. Ta-da! You made it. So front knee bent, back knee straight. Send that hand back down. Pyramid. Both legs straight, but not locked. Hinging forward. Hips are pushing back. Right hip is pushing down. Left hip back. Hamstring stretch. Now bending into that left foot so I can shift my weight forward. I'm pushing off the back foot a little bit. Lifting up, warrior 3. Both legs straight. Yes. Tricky transitions, I know, but the transition is really the main challenge. So toes to the ground, front knees bending, finding warrior 1 again. This is the last time, I promise. Well, on this leg. Warrior 1. Here's an opportunity to test your balance a little bit more. Maybe that left hand lifts. If you feel really good, pretty solid here, perhaps the full expression of the posture. And you're breathing here too. If you have both arms up, or wherever you are with your arms, bring both hands back to the chair. Straighten that left leg. Send that left hip back, right hip forward. Start to hinge or lower the chest down. Oh yeah. Stretching the glutes here, hamstrings, calves, back leg especially, calves are stretching. Just hanging out here for a breath or two. Remember, bend those knees a little bit. And moving into warrior 3 now. So I'm keeping the weight in the hands, starting to bend that that left knee. And I'm pushing off on my back toes and lifting that leg. Perhaps the hands, if it feels better for you, come down to the chair. But if not, keep them here. Maybe even that left arm moves out. And from here, slowly, we're going to come up to standing. So just coming all the way up and releasing. Oh, nice job, y'all. That was tough. Relax a little bit. Whatever you need to do, shake it out. Wiggle it out. Move those hips through maybe your slow little hula hooping motion or side to side motion. Worked a lot of muscles here. So did I lie to you when I said we were going to release? No. Again, like I said, we're working on specific patterns of movement, specific muscles that will all contribute to release later on. All right, so let's get ready to do that on the other side. Just taking some nice deep breaths. Coming back to your posture, I'm going to go ahead and get both those legs up. So coming fairly close to the chair, couple inches away with the hips. Standing up nice and tall, rooting through both feet, so feeling balanced in terms of your weight distribution. Shifting a little bit to the right now. Bend that left knee. Pick that foot up and try to take a nice big step back. And what I didn't mention on the other side is it might not be that perfect. So you might have to wiggle and maneuver this foot around so that your feet are about hip width apart. So think of railroad tracks. And your right foot is on that right rail and your left foot is in line with the left rail. So we're not trying to get them on one line. So finding that warrior 1. So I'm trying to root the whole back foot down, so pressing into the outer edge of that back foot. My toes are about a 45-degree angle. Remember your option, though, to be up on the toes if that just feels better to the hips. So some people have challenge in terms of the ankle and hip getting into this warrior 1 pose. If you feel any wrenching on this back knee, like it's wrenching or twisting, then come to the high lunge position. We don't want to mess with those knees. So bending into that front knee, warrior 1. We'll take our 3 cycles, moving through each pose, and then we'll pause in each pose. So straightening now that front leg without locking it. Push that left hip forward, right hip back. And really that just keeps the hips neutral as you move into pyramid, Parsvottanasana. Chest towards the back of the chair. Just until you feel that stretch, try to keep the spine long. And if you can, shifting to Warrior 3. So you're bending that right knee, pressing onto the back toes, lifting that leg up. Just for a couple seconds here. Trying to come back into your Warrior 1. So toes find the ground. And coming up. Nice. Again, it might not be that seamless, but that is what you're going towards or working towards eventually. Straighten that front leg. Both legs now straight. Think of the hips. So right one moving back, left one moving forward. As you lower the chest, start to bend into that right knee, pressing into the hands, pushing off with the back toes to lift up to your Warrior 3. All right, for this last time, holding a little bit longer in each position. Wait. I think we did 3 on the other side. Sorry, I should be more on top of this. All right, so bending, Warrior 1. Straightening that front leg, pyramid. Remember your hips. Bending into that front foot, pushing off with the back toes, Warrior 3. And back to Warrior 1. Now we'll test our balance. So once you make it back here, see if you can lift that left arm. And if you feel really good about that, see if you can lift that first just the fingers away of the right hand so that if you need it, you're back here with your support. If you can, both hands. On an exhale, both hands come back to the chair. Straighten both legs. Remember, no locking. I'll come through the screen and tap the back of your leg to bend that knee a little bit. Right hip pushes back, left hip pushes forward. Pyramid. Oh boy, stretching it all out here. And that back foot calf. Chest towards the back of the chair. Get ready for a little Warrior 3 hold, and then we'll do a little cool down, standing downward dog stretch. So bending that right knee, pushing the weight forward, pushing off with the kind of springboarding with that back foot. Maybe the hands move to the chair or not. If you can, opposite arm and leg reach out. When you've just had enough and you just can't do it anymore. If you're still with me, come on up to standing. Oh boy, you're probably feeling a burn, especially in that supporting leg. So remember you're slow hula hooping or just reaching into one hip and then the other just to give a nice little stretch to all of those external rotator glute muscles. Haha. Y'all, very good. Very good effort today. Let's take that cool down stretch. Standing downward dog. So both hands to the back of the chair. Slowly start to just inch those feet back. Now, we've been practicing this pose since, on and off since the first class. So you may notice over time that you're able to go back further, that you're able to sink your chest down further. So remember, slight bend in those knees. Belly sinks down, chest sinks down, shoulders sink down. You might even get the head below the heart here, but don't force anything. This is supposed to be a relaxing stretch. You're lengthening out, tractioning the spine. Let the head release if it feels okay to the shoulders. Now, if this puts too much strain in the shoulders, stay active there and focus the stretch on the hamstrings and the glutes and the back. But if it feels okay to the shoulders, sink that chest down. And just breathe deeply here. Where can you let go of tension that you might be holding on to in those small muscles in the face? Remember, don't let those knees lock. Slight bend here. When you're ready to come up, do it very slowly, mindfully, and intentionally so the head lifts first. Pause here, especially if you feel a little bit dizzy, before you start moving anything else. Slowly start to send the hips forward again. Walk those feet in. Slow and steady. Once you come up, again, if you're dizzy, stay here holding on to the chair until it passes and you're able to sit down and relax. So we've made it to that final stage of our class. Now, so many options here. Sitting in your chair, laying back in your chair a little bit, laying on the floor with your legs up in the chair, moving over to your couch or your armchair. Again, lots of different options. I don't have so many options being here, but I'm just going to come to recline in my chair. So get comfortable. Some people like to throw a blanket over them for this part. So like I said, get comfy. You can really fully let go of the physical effort of the body here. So relaxing those legs as much as you can. Relaxing any tension in the upper body. Too relaxed. I like to interlace here when I'm in the chair, just so I'm not using really any muscular effort to keep my arms in place. Some people like to let their arms dangle, but for me, I just feel like blood starts to pool in my hands, and I get maybe a little swelling there in the hands. So I like to keep them a little more level with the heart. Get the wiggles out. Any last bit of tension out for Shavasana corpse pose. If you've started to take deep breaths, maybe just take a couple cycles. In fact, why don't we all inhale together? And on the exhale, ha, verbally, ha. Let that tension out. One more time. Just allow your breathing to do its thing without any manipulation. And just scan the body, especially if you feel that you might be still holding on to tension. Starting at the toes and working your observation up through the legs. Relaxing the muscles as you move through them with that mental effort. Moving to the hips, the abdomen and back, shoulders and chest. Moving down the arms, And then lastly, up through the face, jaw, crown of the head. Ultimate release in this posture. With your next inhale, draw the air in a little deeper. And with the next inhale after that, a little deeper still. Feeling as if you're breathing life, energy, movement back into the body. Moving those feet, those hands. Just starting to make the movements a little bit bigger. Maybe stretching out long. Just coming back to awareness. Thank you all so much for joining me today, for continuing this practice, for doing something just so wonderful for your bodies, your lungs, your minds, and the connection of all of them. So if you have any questions, if you need anything from me, don't hesitate to reach out. And I hope you have an awesome day and keep this sense of hopefully relaxation and openness and release with you as long as you can. I'll see you next time. Bye.